a gene is. Unsa man ang gene? Suarez. Okay, take notes.
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon po, ma'am. So, genes are actually it is actually where the information, ma'am, is located, ma'am. So, dera nakabutang ang ato mga traits or information about our traits po, ma'am.
Okay, so informations, that is where the informations nga nakaputang, naka-encode. Okay, so a gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. No? So, mo na siya ang physical, uh, basic physical and functional unit of heredity. Genes are made up of DNA, no? So, the deoxyribonucleic acid. So, genes are made up of DNA. Some genes, no, act as instructions to make molecules called proteins. So, some of the genes, no, they act, okay, to make instructions, okay, act as instructions to make molecules called protein. However, many genes do not code for proteins. No? So, dapat mga genes na they do not code for proteins. In humans, genes vary in size, no? From a few hundred DNA bases to more than 2 million units. Okay. So, this gene, no? So, since this is considered to be not the basic unit of inheritance, okay, I know naman, no, kasi meron na kayong genetics, kabalo na dyan ko, uh, kabalo na mo sa description yun aning mga genes, okay? So, genes are passed, no, from parents to offspring and contain the information, no? So, they contain the information needed to specify the physical and biological traits. Okay, no? So, most gene codes, okay, for specific proteins or segments of proteins which have differing functions within the body. So, sa human, we have 20,000 protein coding genes. No, natay 20,000 protein coding genes. Okay, sa ato human. So, sa uban, no, lahi. Okay, sa other organisms, lahi. Okay. So, moto siya ha, ang description ng genes. Genes can be uh, they are made up of DNA, but some genes act as instructions to make molecules called proteins, but many also genes do not code for proteins. No? So, dili code tanan. No? Naga-code o gitawag nato na protein. Okay. On the other hand, pag mo yung taog genetic trait, okay, kung mo yung taog, gusto mo ng genetic traits, no? Genetic traits are controlled by the genes, no? That one inherits from both parents, no? So, genes define our individual and independent characteristics as encoded by specific segments of our DNA, no? Or the gene code is what we call the genetic makeup of an organism. So, your genetic makeup, no? So, nganong ingon ana ang imuhang itsura, no? Because that is your genetic makeup, no? Mo na imuhang genetic makeup. So, it consists of different traits, no? These traits, genetic traits, are controlled by the genes, no? That one inherits from both parents. So, both parents. So, gikan siya, imong genes, gikan na sa imuhang parents, no? You inherit genes from your father, you inherit genes from your mother. Now, depende na na karon kung asa ang ma-express nga genes. Okay? So, we have the gene for the hair color or the eye color. So, that's a gene no, for that eye color. But, kinsa karon ang ma-express, no? Is it the brown? Is it the blue? No? Is it the green? No? Or napay lain pang color sa eye, no? So muna magdepende siya. Okay, magdepende na siya kung kinsa ang mulabas. So the gene that is expressed is what we call the phenotype, no? Phenotype, no? So you have that kuan. Muna siya ang itawag nato nga mga genetic traits. So so gene has alternative forms. Ang gene na siya alternative forms, and we call that alternative form as allele. No? Allele. A-L-L-E-L-E. We call that allele. No? So one of two or more alternative forms of a gene that arise by mutation and are found at the same place on a chromosome. No? So our genes are found on a place, no? Na siya place sa chromosome. Okay. I will show you. Okay, this one. No? Okay, so here. No? So this is, for example, the chromosome. No? And then these genes, no, are found on a specific place, no, in the chromosome. We call this the locus or plural loci.
Ma'am,
Can you
wala na
hear
ako.
me?
Excuse me, ma'am. Wala po ikaw naka-share screen, ma'am.
So, problema na mo ang paano actually class. Mo ang okay, so this is the chromosome. Kung ano yung istura sa mga chromosome. So, na ay particular place, no, sa chromosome nga malukit ang specific ng mga genes. We call this loci. Plural loci. Locus, singular. No? So, for example, so since, of course, this is the DNA, a double helix one, possible this is a gene 1 and this is also gene 2. No? Okay, so they are located in one loci or locus rather. So kani sila loci na ni sila, kani loci na sila. Specific, we have the locus. Okay. So okay. So, ang allele mo ni siya ang one of two or more versions of the DNA sequence. No? Okay. So, okay. Example of allele, no? We have, diba, yung for example, kanina sa Sa to example kay eyes, genes sa eyes. So the allele for brown eyes is dominant. Okay. So one example, brown eyes is an example of an allele.
Excuse me po, ma'am.
Yes.
Ay, medyo ano po imong tingog, ma'am. Ang background po nimo po.
Ah,
Dili po.
dili klaro.
Opo.
Sorry.
Ay, sir, okay na po yan, ma'am.
Okay.
Sige po.
Yeah, sorry lang gid class no kay medyo na ako sa office. Okay. Nagklase. Okay. And then among signal diri kay dili ra pud kaayo ano. Okay, anyway. So sa ingon ako no jeans you have the gene for the brown for eyes no, so natay brown, natay blue, natay black, no, natay green. Okay, and then so the allele no, for brown eyes is dominant, so siya ang mas dominant, no, so kasagaran mas daghang brown eyes, no. Okay, than sa uban kaysa uban nga mga color. Okay. So so natay gitawag nga mga naay mga kung sa imuha, no, brown eyes ka, meaning mo na ang dominant, no, nga gene. Okay, kay mo na siya ang nilabas, no, na manifest, no, na expressed. Okay. But maybe you have those na kay allele for green, black, pero dili siya dili siya dominant, no? So recessive siya. But you carry those genes. Okay? So for example, imuhang mama, no, na siya'y iyahang hair kay straight, imo papa kay curly, no, and then ikaw curly hair, so meaning dominant ang trait nga curly hair, no. So kay di manifest siya sa imo. Kung imong manghod straight yang hair, dominant sa iyaha ang trait for straight hair, but both of you carries the genes for straight and curly, no? So same also, no? Both of you carry those trait na curly and straight. Kaya lang mas dominant sa imuha ang curly, sa imong mangkod mas dominant ang straight. Okay? No, so mo na siya. So these genes are passed, no, from parents to offspring, and they contain the information that are needed to specify those traits, no. So they are arranged after one another on a structure called the chromosome. So okay, this is a chromosome. Yeah? So humans, for example, have approximately 20,000 genes. Okay, yes, but this is the protein katong responsible sa pag-code, no, protein coding na mga DNA. Okay. So there's a tendency na by the way, before that, no, actually it was Grigor Mendel, no, who first observed, no, these mga variations of different traits. Nga na mga variations. So he observed this, no, sa garden, no, sa P garden, no, dito sa iyahang monastery. So mo na nga si Grigor Mendel, no, as the father of genetics. Okay. So with his observation, it led him to conclude that the specific traits, no, from the P were passed on unchanged from a parent plant to the next generation. So nakita niya nga, na-observe niya nga the same plant, no, producing the same, no, the genes or the traits, specific traits, no, okay, are passed on unchanged. Walay changes, no, from one parent plant to the next generation. So until such time that he did some experiments by crossing, no? Naghimo siya og hybrid, no? By crossing the uh, different traits, no? Or pareho nga traits but of different allele. Okay? Pareho nga trait but of different allele. For example, form. No? We have this form sa seed, no? So, pareho sila ng trait but different allele. The allele is gray, no? Or white color, round and wrinkled, and that is the form. No? So, muna sila ang mga allele. Okay? So, for cotyledons, this for color of the flower, form of the pods, color of the pod, the place of the flower sa stem, and the size. Okay, so naay siya trait for the height, no, but the different ang allele. Long and the allele for long and the allele for short. Okay? For the flower naman, the trait for the color, okay, allele for white and allele for violet or purple. Okay, no? So, muna yung observation. So, until such nga iyahang gi-cross ni, dili na ko mo go into details ani kay na naman mo yung genetics, no? Muna to na tay first generation, F1 generation, F2 generation, pila ka percent, no, ang nilabas nga white and purple, no? And eventually na po nilabas nga pink, no? Pink ang color. Muna to mga codominants, no? Ng mga kuan. But anyway, we will not talk about it. Okay. We will talk about genetic alterations. Okay. So, okay. So, when we talk about genetic alteration, no? So, meaning, pwede no, ma-alter no, ang DNA sequence. No? DNA sequence can be altered, okay, no, by changing the sequence, no? I-change niyo ang sequence or you're going to add, no? You're going to add a different sequence, okay, sa existing nga DNA sequence. So once it is embedded, no, na kay genetic alteration, no? So any change in the DNA sequence can alter the genetic code, no? And therefore may alter the synthesis of the protein that it encodes. Okay, so why, no? Why the genetic alterations occur? Ano mo occur man ang genetic alterations? So there are two main causes, no? Pwede siya external or environmental factors like radiations, no? Radiations na can really alter, no? Because it can trigger mutation, no? Maka-trigger siya og mutation. Actually, daghay klase sa mutation, no? So a mutation can either be detrimental or harmful. It can also be beneficial or wala, no? Neutral. Okay? So, naay mga environmental factors, no, that can cause mutations. No? So, wala ni gitawag nato ng mga katong radiations, drugs, no, mga drugs. Okay? They can also trigger mutations, no? Then, pag sinabi na internal, so this has something to do with genetic factors, no? Genetic factors na siya. Okay? So, mo to katong gi-introduce na pato sa gene ginag-introduce ka og protein, no, a sequence of protein, no, or a sequence of DNA that codes for a particular gene, imo siyang gi-insert dito, no. So mo na nga internal. Okay? No? So, mo na nga na ay tendency that genes no will change. So, mo na the genetic makeup no is altered. Okay? So, errors no can occur during division process like katong last na to nga katong sa ato anatomy and physiology no when we study about cell division that errors can also occur no during division process leading to genetic alterations because what if sister chromatids tend to separate no and go to the opposite pole so naay tendency nga mabag-og yun ang genetic makeup no of that organism because there are changes that happen. Another one, mga external factors such as tobacco or the sun's radiation, among many others, increase the likelihood of such errors taking place. Okay, so in our modern times, no, in the modern times, we can change the DNA sequence no through different mga methods, mga techniques. So I know that you are familiar with biotechnology, no? In biotechnology, and you are also familiar with genetic engineering, no? Genetic engineering. So meaning i-engineer nila ang sequence, no? DNA sequence. Okay.
Excuse me ma'am, wala na po kayo share screen po.
What about this?
Naa na, ma'am.
Okay.
Yan na ma'am, ano ba?
Okay. Like something is wrong with our ano. Okay. Makita na?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay po.
Okay, so nagalag diri sa ko ang nagalag. Okay, so let us continue. So why do genetic alterations occur? No? So there are two main causes, the external and internal. No? So one is siya ang cause no, ng genetic alteration. So as what I have mentioned that now we can alter DNA sequence. Okay? Applying different methods, different techniques, no? Meaning ato ang i-change no by ato i-engineer no nga kani nga sequence of DNA for example is nani siya kaning gene nga defective no. So kung kani nga gene defective gene no kung sa kani nga unsa na siya defective nga gene okay so dapat pwede na to siya i-remove no i-remove okay ug pulihan siya og dili defective nga gene no so pwede na siya mahimo karon or nanapod mga kuan nga pwede nga makuan no ma-enhance ang IQ no ng isang individual no by putting a particular gene no so mo na kato sa mga CRISPR okay di ba I know that we have encountered that CRISPR no, during the kung katong pag-answer ninyo sa inyong module no okay so then meron ding mga ano methods no okay my gosh what happened okay so how have humans used technologies to influence no, the inheritance of desired traits in organism okay so bakit ba gumagawa tayo ng mga why do we need to change or alter the genes no okay gusto kasi natin na mag-create tayo ng product na that have a desirable trait ano na ay desirable trait okay gusto na to mag create a product having a desirable trait. So here are some examples of how we can how we can alter genes. No? Okay, so we call this mga genetic modification, selective breeding, gene therapy. No? So genetic GM or genetic modification stands for genetically modified. So this GM describes the process by which scientists are able to pinpoint the individual gene. So this is the process, no, of by which scientists are able to pinpoint the individual gene. And if ever that they have already kabalo sila nga mo na nga gene, sometimes they remove the gene, they going to copy it and place it in the new organism. So that organism now, the katong iyang original na nga genetic code na naanay na bago. No? So naanay na bago. So meaning it's naanay genetic alteration. And this new organism no, has what we call now nag-contain na siya karon sa katong gusto nimo nga desired trait. Okay? Na siya desired trait. Okay. We can further discuss this in selective ano, uh, yung sa BT talong. I don't know if you have heard about the BT talong. Okay. So kanang talong, di ba, kung walita na sa palengke, niya, tanaw na to, no, guwapa kaayo. Pero pag slice na to, daghan siyang ulod, no? Okay, so what the scientists did is they get, I think, an enzyme ba yun? An enzyme or a particular sequence of DNA no, in an organism ug ilang i-introduce dito sa eggplant. Now the eggplant can produce fruits that are now resistant to worms. No? Resistant na siya to worms. So dili na siya uh, dili na makakaon no ang worm no sa iya. Okay? So mo na gitaw nato nga genetic modification. Okay? So in the year sa to siya nga year nga kaning sa corn no natay mga gihimo pod nga mga kuan sa corn no nagitaw sa mga genetically modified no kani pong sa golden rice. Okay, in order to combat vitamin A deficiency, what the scientists did was they introduce no enzyme no that can produce or that can synthesize vitamin A so that the palay no can synthesize its own vitamin A no. So pagtubo sa palay no pag harvest nimo sa palay nanay nag-contain na siya daan og vitamin A. So vitamin A deficiency is already addressed no na-address na gyud ang kakulangan ng vitamin A deficiency. So mana kay once the child will eat that rice, so meaning na siya vitamin A. Okay, so that rice no, is called genetically modified organism or GMO. Okay. So we have this selective breeding. Selective breeding is the intentional mating of two animals no, or plants. Okay, produces offspring with desirable traits, and this can also get rid of unwanted traits. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. Okay. Okay, so for example, this one, no? So for the dogs, no? Okay, humans have changed the way dogs look and act by choosing which dogs to breed together. So, one example, selective breeding. So, Mastiff and the Bulldog, no? So, gimate ni silang duha, okay, para mo-produce ka og Bull Mastiff, no? So, the Mastiff, for example, ang iyang desirable trait is large siya and strong. But, ang iyahang dili kaayo desirable nga trait kay very slow and not aggressive. However, the bulldog, no, aggressive siya, very quick but small. Okay? So, gicross silang duha, okay, to produce a large, quick, strong, and aggressive na kind of dog. Muna na natin gitawag nga bull mastiff, no, nga dog because of na-breed siya with mastiff and bulldog. No? Okay, so this is called selective breeding. Okay? So, muna siya ang example, no, of selective breeding. So, intentionally, no, gimate nimo siya, okay, to produce a particular, usa na, to produce an offspring with desirable traits. Okay. So same also in plants, no? So gusto ka mo nga ang imuhang fruits, no? Siguro mas dagko siya, ang fruit mas dagko, mas tamis, mas kuan, and then mo na, no? Ang pollen, no, ang pollen sa kaninga na ay desirable trait, no, the plant imo ang gi-introduce dito sa pollen nga gusto nimo nga kani siya nga plant mo produce siya og fruits nga mas dagko, mas tamis and so on. So you are now doing selective breeding. Okay. Now for animal husbandry, no, so selective breeding that is applicable only to animals. Muna nga sa agriculture na gitawag nga animal husbandry, no. So this animal husbandry is concerned with the production and care of domestic animals like kaning atong mga baboy, no? So ang atong mga baboy, no, kaning gitawag nato nga mga hybrid, di ba? So why they are called hybrid? Because they are now what? Ang hybrid okay. So a hybrid actually is an animal, no, na siya animal that has parents of two different species, no? Okay, for instance, horses and donkeys are different species, but they are similar enough in appearance and behavior that they can mate with one another. No? So when you combine, no, the traits of different species, no, they are nagproduce siya og different species, no. So mo na ang kanang donkey, that is an example of a hybrid, no. So meaning you crossbreed animals that share traits from both parents, no. Okay, so Okay. Then for gene therapy naman, no? So this is another way, no, on how or a technology, no, to influence the inheritance, no, of desired traits in organism is gene therapy. No? So this is a technique that uses genes to treat or prevent diseases. No? So mo-treat siya or mo-prevent siya o disease. We call this gene therapy. So this gene therapy, no, may allow doctors to treat a disorder by putting a gene into a patient cell. Okay? So no need for drugs or surgery. But gene therapy actually is very expensive. No? Kaning gene therapy, very expensive ni siya. You know that. And this is not accessible to all. No? So, kung may pera ka, no? Okay. Uh, you can, also na, no? Like, for example, you're going to uh, do some transplantation of normal genes into cells that in place of missing or defective ones in order to correct genetic disorders. So, mo ni gitawag na to ng gene therapy. No? So, kunyari, yung yung isang gene mo, no, kulang siya, no, ng may kulang na sequence doon, no, sa DNA. Okay? So, since it is missing, no, so you will resort into gene therapy. So, in gene therapy, no, mag-transplant o normal genes into cells in place of missing or defective ones para ma-correct ang isa ka genetic disorder. Okay? So, gene therapy is a technique that modifies a person's genes to treat or cure a disease. Okay, so muna siya ang gene therapy. Okay, so sa inyo na ko, this method or process is very expensive. No? So only few actually, you know, can have access to gene therapy. Okay. No? So, okay, so what are these genetically modified organisms? Okay, genetically modified organisms. So what are the reasons? So why we tend to modify, no, uh, the organisms? Okay, yeah? So to produce faster growing crops or animals. Okay. If we're going to compare our native palay and kaning mga daghan na tag variations of hybrid plants, palay karon, no? So gagmay gyud ang native, no? Nya gagmay kayo iyahang lugas compared to the hybrid, no? Nga mas dagko, no, ang iyahang lugas. Okay? And in terms of yield, no? So na pag-harvest in terms of yield, ang 1 hectare hybrid of this palay, no? Pwede siya mahimo nga unsa na equivalent, no, to let's say ang kung na kay 5 native, no, 5 hectares nga yield of native. So equivalent ang kung sa hybrid, no, so 1 hectare lang na siya, no, equivalent ang 1 hectare of the hybrid is equivalent to let's say 5 hectares of yield, no, ng native. Okay, so because kailangan kasi na because of the population explosion, no, morning, we need more rice, we need more food. Okay, so yung ginawa is we need to produce faster growing crops or animals to meet the demands of the population. Okay, no? So, and then we manage also to produce crops that are drought resistant. No? Our International Rice Research Institute in Los Baños, Laguna, no? They are doing a lot of researches about our rice that they need to produce or develop rice that are resistant to drought. No, a variety of rice that are resistant to drought. No, so this is in response to climate change. No, and plant also that is or that can withstand flooding. No, okay, kay, di ba? Once nga mabahaan atong humay, no? So mamatay atong humay kay mabahaan man siya. No, wala mabahaan man ang humay, ma'am, nga actually, ma'am, ang iyaha ganing naagay na siya sa rice paddy, ma'am, nga lapok diyan ay tubig. Yeah, kung mabahaan nga no, mamatay man siya. No? Mamatay magkita mabahaan ang humay na ba no nga of course it can no longer photosynthesize kay ang iyahang entire leaf niya na submerged naman sa water, no, niya ang water dili pa gyud clear, no, lubog pa gyud, so how can it photosynthesize? Of course mamatay, then malata siya, no. Okay, so mo na nga nagdevelop no ng mga variety of palay that are drought resistant at the same time flood resistant, no? So mag-develop din ng mga food that stay ripe longer, no? So yun. Okay, so for research purposes, no, like drug development, okay, mga increase no yield of crop, no, or pwede rin for commercial reasons, okay, reduce cost that is passed to consumer or enhance the nutritional value of a food, no, so value added, no, we alter the genetic makeup of a particular plant, no, in order to enhance its nutritional value. So mo kani example is the golden rice, no. So para dili na siya kung doon pumingon ta og 45, this rice is fortified with vitamin A, no. At least the rice now can synthesize vitamin A. Siya na mismo, no, ang mo synthesize og kaugalingong vitamin A para pagkaon nimo sa rice, you are now nanakay vitamin A. Okay? To solve the problem of vitamin A deficiency. Okay, no? So, muna example, nganong reasons for genetically modified organism. So, why or modifying organism? Okay. No? So, the first GMOs no, were the bacteria in the early 1970s. So, yung basic modifications are designed and prepared using E. coli and then transferred to the target organism. Okay. Okay. So the bacterial cell, now with gene, okay, for example, in red ito, that produces a pest-killing protein. So, sa iyahang gene, naa siya'y sequence no, that can kill pest. No? So, ang gibuhat, no, so copy or remove, no, okay, called natay mga gitawag nato nga mga restriction enzymes actually, no. So iya gi-introduce siya, no. So normal plant cell becomes genetically modified to carry the bacterial gene. So this new gene enables the genetically modified cell to produce the pest-killing protein. So, it resulted into a plant, no? A whole plant can be produced from a single genetically modified cell. So, GM plant now can produce pest-killing proteins and pwede siya na maging pest resistant. Okay, so ano ba yung mga drawbacks ng mga GMO, no? Mga controversies regarding GMOs. Oh, it's already 3 o'clock. Dami klase, no? My God. Okay, so okay. I think meron kayong klase after ng taong oras, 3 o'clock. But anyway, sige. We will just continue this next meeting. We still have Wednesday. No, we can still meet on Wednesday. Okay? So, you are late, Miss Nipes?
Yes, ma'am. Late. Sunod, ma'am. Pero nakasunod ko ganina mga ano, ma'am. 2